He might have technical glitches. Me and Jim are talking right now about how you relax. You worked hard. He goes up to the cabin. We're talking about that. Tom, how do you relax? He doesn't have an answer. Oh,
Is
does he have
there
an answer?
is there is there a is all right? So the question is, how do I react? But how do I react to what? Because I
No,
react
no,
differently to
no, no.
different.
The question is, how do you relax?
Oh, relax. I thought you said react.
Yeah, you're
I was like,
working
how do I
so
react to
hard.
what?
You're working hard. You're doing all these other things. How do you relax?
Honestly, it's counterintuitive. But oh, there you are, popping in the live stream. All right, here we go. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Literally.
Yeah, there you go.
Um,
I'm frozen right now.
it's all good. It's all good. We'll see if you unfreeze. If you need to go back out and come back in, no big deal. But yeah, how do I relax? It sounds counterintuitive, but for me, exercising is relaxing, right? Like getting out for a run, getting out for a ride, going for a swim, those things, going for a hike, going for a long walk, those things are relaxing to me. That is how I relax. So counterintuitive, I relax by breaking a sweat. But yeah, I do that. And then the other side is, I like to, in the evening, I like to have a glass of whiskey and occasionally a cigar and sit out on the patio and watch some Netflix or something on my laptop. That's a way I like to unwind at the end of a day.
I like your list, Mr. Ajay. What do you think? What do you think about this smoking a cigar? Is we approve?
Well, Dom, as you know, the only time I really smoke a cigar is on the golf course, and that's maybe once or twice a year. So I do enjoy it, but I don't do it very often.
Hey, love it, man. Hey, Johnny, welcome, man. We're just getting started here, but we were talking about how we relax. Me and Jim are going out with some buddies this weekend golfing, and before anybody got on, we were having this conversation about like what time we're picking each other up. And Tom, I said, well, this is going to be an interesting conversation for anybody watching the replay. The replay is going to stop after 40 seconds when people hear me and Jim's plans. But Johnny, you're doing 50,000 things. How do you relax? How do you turn it off? Can you turn it off?
Well, first of all, yes, you can turn it off. And second, you have to turn it off. And I use a technique that I call a time budget. Every hour of every day on my calendar has a name. I assign it a very specific name. Sometimes it's a client name, sometimes it's a project name, sometimes it's an activity name. I have time on my schedule blocked off for lunch and time blocked off on my schedule for family dinner. I have time blocked off every day to just sit back and dream, to think. I schedule leisure time. And some people will say, well, that sounds counterintuitive that you schedule time to not schedule. But if I don't take the intention, if I'm not intentional about taking time to rest and relax, then I won't ever do it. And that's part of the problem in the United States is we are so work focused and so work driven, and we get our identity through how much we accomplish. But if you don't take time to rest, relax, reset, you're also going to be the victim of the number one thing that we have in America. We have the highest rate of death due to stress induced heart disease, cancer, and we are the second leading nation in the world for death by suicide. And it's because people are defining themselves by the wrong things and they are not being intentional about the right things. I'm off my soapbox. I'm Johnny. Ta-da.
Johnny, man, thanks for being here. And this subject, I think Johnny might have been an influence. One of the things that I started doing in the last probably 6 months was scheduling creativity. Now, like you said, Johnny, that's is that counterintuitive? Maybe. How can you be creative when you schedule it? Well, my thought was that I spend so much time on making sure that these certain tasks are done, business tasks or meetings and that kind of stuff. I thought that I needed time to create. Maybe those are projects, filming projects or projects we're working on or things I wanted to do. And so I try to schedule time every week for, and I actually call it Creative Friday. So that's what I'm trying to do. Go on,
That's
Johnny.
great. And here's the key to this time budget. Um, do not sacrifice or compromise on that time block. So I set aside time to work on a project. So today I've got time set aside for an hour at noon for a meeting with a producer in Los Angeles, a virtual meeting for a project they're doing here in Nashville. Now, I know that it's not going to take the full hour. However, I'm not going to block anything else during that hour. And if this call ends in 15 minutes, I'm still going to, I'm not going to move on to the next thing. I'm going to keep that time block separated from the next task. And I do that to discipline myself so that I don't start overlapping things and thinking, oh well, I'm done with this. I can just move on to the next project. Well, that might work, but for me, it's important that I keep everything siloed and guarded, as it were. And I train my clients the same way. My clients know that I have a specific block time that I dedicate to them and their projects every day. And if it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time, that client may send me emails in the morning, but I've trained them that they don't get my attention until 1 o'clock. But during that 1 o'clock time block, they have my full undivided attention, and they're the only thing that gets my attention.
Johnny, I like it, man. Tom, what's your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, man, I just want to jump in because I am 100% on board with what Johnny's talking about here with time budgeting. So I'm just on my desktop here. I've just opened up my calendar and I have a time set every day for sleep. I have a time set for when I have my coffee in the morning. I have a time set for working out in the morning. I have a time set every day for about 15 to 20 minutes in the morning, starting at 9 o'clock. That is just my get shit done time. Pardon my French, but that's what it's called. It's called get shit done. It's literally what it says on my calendar. Every morning, I have that time blocked so that I can use that time to just tick things off, easy, quick, simple tasks off of my to-do list so that I start my day with a little bit of momentum and I get some things done right off the bat. And then I have time blocked for lunch every day. And then going into the evening, I have time blocked that's just labeled me time, right? Which is just time that I'm off the clock before I go to bed. So like during that time, I'll have dinner. During that time, I'll have, like we talked about, relaxing earlier. I'll have a whiskey and maybe a cigar out on the patio, like that kind of thing in the evening, just to unwind and turn it off before I go to bed around 10 o'clock. So I have those things set in my calendar every day, 7 days a week, without fail. And then the other thing I wanted to say off of what Johnny was talking about was, it felt like what he was getting at, And if I'm wrong, then please jump in and correct me, Johnny. But it felt like what he was getting at was that this whole idea of this like hustle culture, right? And believe me, I'm a big proponent of hard work. You have to work hard if you want to succeed, but you also should not live to work. You should work to live, right? I'm a big believer in that statement. And that you shouldn't sacrifice enjoying your life for the sake of being able to say that you worked 16 hours a day, right? Like, what is that going to get you in the long run? So I think people should stop thinking about trading time for money and think about trading like work product for money, right? So it's not about how much time you put in, it's about what you accomplish, right? And if you figure out how to accomplish things in a shortened period of time, then like take more time off. Don't just do extra work for the sake of doing extra work so that you can brag about working 16 hours a day. That's crazy talk. It doesn't make any sense, right? So like I think there's a confusion with that hustle culture, like work hard, right? But work hard with a goal, with intention, and also play hard and relax hard, right? Do everything to its fullest. Don't just do work and nothing else. I'm complete.
Love it, Tom. Live each day to the fullest. Mr. Aj, how you, Johnny, jump in, and then I want to just hear from Jim how you're managing your day. Any tips you got for us to maximize? Go on, Johnny.
Well, and I'm just going to add to what Tom said, because we're on the same wavelength here. It's funny because I teach people this technique in the corporate world, and they're like, well, but we've got to get this done, this done, this done. I'm like, okay, so you create a timeline, you create a project plan, and how do you finish a project plan? One step at a time, one day at a time, 1 hour at a time. And if you don't get everything done in that block of time that you wanted to get done, it's okay. You've got that same time tomorrow. Or you might have scheduled flex time to catch up, or whatever you call it. But um, the the counterintuitive part is you control your schedule, you're less distracted, and you actually end up being more efficient and getting more done in less time. It's really amazing. And, I've taught project managers how to use a controlled schedule and not have to work, 4 and 5 hours overtime a night or work over the weekends. They can work that 9 to 5 and get everything done because they're not being distracted by a million different things when they focus in and give each block of time a specific name and a specific purpose. That's all I'm going to add. I'm done. I'm Johnny. Ta-da. Go, Jim.
All right, thanks, guys. Hey, let me reset real quick. Every Wednesday we do this room, Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, all things social media. We're going to talk branding tips. We're going to talk tips how to make life better, how to make business better, how to make your brand better. Right now, we started this conversation today talking about how do you relax, how do you reset, me and Jim were planning weekend plans with some buddies, and that's where we started. So, Jim, how do you get the most out of your day? What tip would you share?
Dom, I'm sorry to take you off the rails so soon here, but one thing that everyone's mentioned about how they handle their day and their time. You have to be cognizant of who you're dealing with and their time as well. So if you call and you talk to someone, because what I'm doing, I'm hunting, I'm trying to find sales, I'm trying to find new leads. I am very cognizant of people's time. If I get them on the phone, I have in my mind at 1 to 2 minutes to get a small point across and try to schedule a meeting. Scheduling a meeting is important because if you can get something on a calendar, on their calendar and your calendar, then you're both on the same page. You've devoted a half an hour or an hour to what you want to talk about, and then you're both going to be more productive during that time. So my only tip is, adhere to your time and follow a schedule, but also respect other people's time because it is extremely valuable. That's all I have.
Good one, man, coming from the other side. Go on, Tom.
got one other thing to add that I was thinking about because of what Johnny was saying. One of the other things that I think it's super important to do, and this also ties into what Jim's talking about, is when it comes to managing time, it's important to set expectations, set clear expectations and clear boundaries for the people you're interacting with when it comes to respecting your time and respecting their time. And here's what I mean by that. I have a sort of unwritten policy that if you email me, if a client emails me for a non-emergent issue outside of regular business hours, Monday to Friday, they will get a response from me during the next regular business hours, right? So like if a client emails me on Sunday morning with a question that is non-emergent, that does not need to be addressed right away, that doesn't cause any sort of risk of difficulty on their part, if it's not addressed, then it gets dealt with on Monday. I will not reply to their email on Sunday. What I will do is, what I should say is I won't send a reply on a Sunday, right? So what I will do is I might say, oh, you know what? Actually, let me answer that real quick while I'm thinking about it. And I will delay the send on the email so that they get the email Monday morning. They won't get it from me on Sunday, right? And it's because, and similarly, if somebody emails me at 10 o'clock at night, even if I get the email, even if I'm still awake, I'm not going to answer it if it's not an emergency until the next day, right? And that's because I think it's super important to make sure that you set expectations and you manage those expectations. If you set the expectation that you are available 24/7 to people, they will believe that they can reach you 24/7. And when you don't reply on a Sunday, they're going to be upset. But if you set the expectation that you're available to your clients Monday to Friday during regular business hours, and they reach out to you on a Sunday with a non-emergent issue and you don't get back to them till Monday, they'll be fine with it, right? So resist that urge, to that sense that you have to reply right away. You don't. Set those expectations and then manage them and live up to them, and follow them, set those boundaries, and everybody will be happier for it. That's all.
Tom, I'm so guilty of this, and I was going to ask you, each of you guys, a question, because I'm afraid to even block off my calendar at lunch, because I'm like, wow, really, I should be working at lunch. Like, what kind of guy am I to take a lunch break when it's really
Why?
10 to 5? And I that's just in my head somewhere. Same thing with answering emails late at night. I was going to ask you guys, do you put down your cell phone at a certain time? Because I am a responder. Not only do I respond, it gets in my head whatever the question was, and then I'll be like, I got to go down to the office, and I try to sort this out. Jim, what do you got?
Hey, Dom, exactly. To Tom's point, I used to be like that. I would answer things right away because, we pride ourselves on prompt responses and getting back to people right away. But if someone's sending you an email on a Sunday, okay, and their normal work hours are Monday through Friday, you can wait till Monday, like Tom said, and there's not going to be any issue. We as a company decided that, we don't reply to anything after a certain time and on weekends. And we haven't had one complaint from anybody at all because they're not going to they're not going to see the email till Monday morning anyway. So to Tom's point, if you email right away Monday morning or set it to be emailed right away Monday morning, they're going to open their computer, look at it, and they'll reply to you right away. So you may have a better chance of actually getting a reply from them if you, kind of respect your time as well and don't kowtow to them and answer right away. So that's a very good point, Tom. I do appreciate that.
Thanks, Tom. I mean, see, I'm victim to this. That's why I come to a room like this. Go on, Johnny.
I absolutely close the computer, put down the cell phone during after hours, and in my email auto response, in my email signature, I specify that email communications will be returned during standard business hours between 9 and 5 Central Standard Time. And I don't take meetings, I don't take calls during my lunch hour. It is blocked off for me to enjoy, to have that time to just enjoy the meal. For crying out loud, Dominick, enjoy a meal, savor it.
I'm sorry. Okay, I appreciate this. Vote. We got Vobon next. This is that's how I'm going to pronounce it. Vobon. We're looking for tips today, man. Scheduling tips, marketing tips. And if you have a question, you got some good experts here. So have at it, my friend. What do you got for us?
Good morning, all. Thanks for the airtime. It all depends on where I'm at on the globe. If I'm in Florida right now, but if I'm somewhere in Europe or Asia, I usually take a week or two where I don't use the phone, computer, nothing. I just shut down and tune into that local, where I'm at locally outside the borders of the United States. Inside the United States, typically these days, this year, I get up around about 1 a.m. I don't use an alarm clock, but I feel when I'm up at 1 a.m. and I get things started, I have more time to do everything. And it's quiet and it's peaceful. I get creative ideas. So waking up early, whatever. And then essentially, I consider myself, as far as time goes, a relationship lifestyle. Like when I do podcasting, I've done like over 2,100 of them. They're basically, it's all right. I carve out 3 hours out of my day. Now, my podcast can last anywhere from 2 minutes to 3 hours. It just depends on the vibe. But that's networking time. And then from there, with those same people, we graduate to a project because I like to have activities. So my thing is building tiny houses. So we might spend 1 hour talking about stuff and then another 2 or 3 hours building something. So it all works out as far as time management. So I'll land my plane there.
Gotcha, brother. Thank you. Hey, Fly Tie, what do you got for us? What kind of tip for scheduling, for marketing, for living life to the fullest? What do you got, man?
What's going on, guys? What's up, Dominick, Jim, Tom, Johnny? What's up, y'all?
Hey, my
Rama, what's up?
friend. Glad you're here, man.
Yeah, don't mind me. I kind of just woke up. So, but as far as marketing tips go and stuff with social media, I would say it all involves consistency and knowing the analytics of the platforms that you guys are on, and knowing your audience most important. And actually showing engagement to other people who's in your niche, because that will also help for promoting your brand. For you to have the right marketing going on in your brand. So, that's how I built my platforms on different social media outlets like TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that. So I would say search the hashtags first in your niche on social media. And if you have a brand or a business, you want to engage with people who has the same kind of business you have, and see how you guys can do any collaborations or come together and you guys could cross promote each other.
Hey, Fly. When you say search the hashtags, are you doing that every day? You doing that once a week? You
Well,
just
I
have
mean,
a
I
common
don't
knowledge
really
of them?
I be on social media every day, but I don't put as much time as I used to put on because I work 2 jobs. But before pre-pandemic, and I was actually having a lot more time on my hands to do a lot more things. So I would say now, in these times now that we're in, I just happen to be very consistent every day, even though I'm not able to actively engage with other people's platforms that has the same niche. I'm just consistently engaging with my audience and just posting and actually going live. Even if I'm on live for 20 minutes to an hour, that's another way to market as well, because you could promote your brand on the lives and try to see what your audience want to see more of with your brand as well. Because like it's really about your audience. Because just like with social media on Clubhouse, if you don't have an audience, you're not gonna have a platform. So it's good to like tap into the people, like even like with the chats in the rooms and stuff, like just see what people want to hear of or what they want to know. Because that's what actually helps your brand to actually take off. Because when people is able to learn stuff and gain value, they're promoted to their peoples, and then your brand becomes bigger. So that's why these spaces like this is important, no matter how big or small the room is. Because it's the little things you say is what could help change a person's life. So that's why I'm here, guys. Thank you.
Well said, man, and thanks for being here. I had a conversation with this speaks to me, and maybe you guys would appreciate this. I had a conversation with a woman that was off social media for 10 years, and she's not really on it, but she wrote a book 2 years ago, and she's looking to brand herself, and really, in a lot of ways, she's a ghost. We live in this world where people refresh their phones 80 to 120 times a day. They're looking, imagine that. People sit there 80 to 120 times a day looking for new content. And as an author, I believe you are either there or you're not. So 80 to 120 times, all these people are looking for content. You're there or you're not, like Fly's saying. So he's out everywhere. He's looking at hashtags. So this author who's been off for 10 years, what if she tried, my suggestion, why does start with one platform? Give me 1 hour a week on LinkedIn. Give me 1 hour a week on Clubhouse, whatever it is, one platform where you go out not trying to sell, just trying to introduce yourself, trying to meet people, trying to, like Fly says, follow hashtags in that space. But if she gave 1 hour a week to start, what an awesome start. What do you say about that, Tom? He says,
I'm
nothing
sorry, man.
about it.
I'm
That's all
sorry,
right.
man. I got distracted, and I did not know you were coming to me, and I was trying to sort something out on my side, and I did not hear the full question. So
Hey,
give
don't
me.
worry about it. So one thing I want to just say to the room here real quick is part of business in life is tech stuff too. So I had a project I'm working on, so I had to go do a COVID test this morning about an hour away. So I was running late. Me and Tom usually live stream this as well. I can't even get on my computer right now. So sometimes you strike out on things, but whatever you're working on, the show must go on. Me and my son one day we were driving to do some filming, and my transmission, I drive this old Jeep, and the transmission blew about a mile from where we're going. And I had promised him I was going to be there at a certain time. And he was younger this a couple years ago, and he's like, "What are we going to do?" And I was like, in my mind, I said, what do you mean? What are we going to do? The show must go on. So me and him carried all our bags with cameras and stuff like that. And we walked the mile and continued the show. But Tom, I will continue to work on getting on the live stream, and we are going to go to our main man, Billy. I love Billy's content, man. This guy, he's on message. His brand is tight. He helps people monetize with their podcasts and things like that. Has a lot of unique angles. So, Billy, what you're doing, I am a fan of it. It's like kind of like Johnny's stuff. If you posted 10 more times a day, I would be watching all 10 of those things you're doing, man. So if you got some tips for us on time management or marketing, have at it, my friend. And if you want to ask a question, well, we'll kick it to Tom and maybe he can answer it. What do you got, my friend?
What's up, Dominic, Tom, Jim, John, everybody? I was just jumping up. I haven't been able to be on Clubhouse because I've been on dad duty, and then my little 4-year-old just went to preschool today. So I'm listening, working in the background, trying to manage my time, not be distracted by you guys. But super good information, love it. I would say, as far as time management, I'm probably just learning this. I'm going to be 36 in October, so it's taking me a long time. I'm a slow learner for time management. But definitely what you guys are talking about, like time blocking and just making a decision. Like, I know I got a few hours here to knock out some work. And so not only, it's kind of like my podcast, like not only did I say I'm going to do a podcast, but I'm going to do a podcast about saltwater fishing. Okay. What kind of saltwater fishing? Oh, on the coast of North Carolina. All right, is it inshore, offshore, nearshore only? Blah, blah, blah. Like, even in my workflow, now what I do is just niche it down into those even smaller time blocks. So, right now, like while I'm listening to you guys, I'm like, okay, I'm going to spend 15 minutes and I'm going to send deliverables for video projects that I did for Amazon Live customers. I'm going to deliver those. And then for the next 15 minutes, I'm going to set up. And then for the next hour and a half, I'm going to just do as many product videos as I can. And then I'm going to spend, whatever time I have left uploading them And if not, I'm going to come back this afternoon after I pick my little guy up. So I think it's not only just saying, hey, I'm going to block off this time in my calendar, but then what are you going to do with those 15-minute increments within it? And I think it'll, and when I started doing this, man, it used to take me like hours to edit a podcast, hours to do a membership show, hours to do all this stuff. And now it's taking me the time that I give it because I say, okay, I had this time. It's all I'm allowing myself because I don't want to be here until midnight. And so, I learned that by actually, by not having time, by having a kid, by having a wife who owns a business, I own a business, and basically part-time work hours because we still want a family. And so I was pretty much forced to learn, like, all right, dude, you're going to give yourself this time and it's it. Like when the buzzer's over, you're done. And so just hold yourself accountable. And that's what I would say about time management. And I'm learning it. So, I'm not a pro, but I'm managing a lot of projects right now, personal projects, and I am crushing it because of my calendar. So that's my thoughts, Dominic. Thanks.
Billy, I felt like such a hero when you guys all suggested Calendly to me. But then, so that was like an evolution for me, like with time zones and everything. But blocking out blocking out for lunch. This is my next thing, Tom. I think I'm ready to officially block out. And my wife's been home for like 2 years for COVID, and she works upstairs, and I work in the basement. So we usually eat lunch together. And I really feel guilty on the days where I'm like, oh, got a call. Like the least I could do, I think, is block out that time at lunch. But I felt guilty. Hey, Billy, one more question before you go. And not that you're going, but since we got expert Billy on, tell me about Amazon Live. What's going on with that? What's the platform? What should we be doing there?
Oh man. Well, okay, so I won't get into it too much, but basically Amazon basically said, "Hey, why are people going to YouTube and checking out videos and maybe clicking affiliate links and coming over and buying product?" So, a couple of years ago, maybe close to 3 years, they built their own or build and still building. I mean, it's still in the elementary stages, building their own platform where creators can go on there, apply. You have to have a certain criteria. I'm not sure what it is now. And if you get accepted, you have access to go live on their website. So if you go to amazon.com/live, you can see people literally going live. There's products in the carousel and they're just sharing their thoughts or whatever their style is about the product. People click on it, they buy, that creator gets a commission. So that's kind of one part of it. And then once you level up to the second level of Amazon Live, which isn't really hard to do, well, this is my process. It may have changed, but I had to go 90 minutes live. Then I can apply for the next level. They review my stuff and go, okay, cool. You can now do shoppable videos. Shoppable videos are short form, 1 to 12 minutes of video that live on product pages. So, say for instance, I just got an MV7 from Shure. So they sent it over to me. It's a limited edition. It's white, and they have very limited of them, whatever. And so I create a video about it. Now it lives on that shoppable page or that product page. If somebody's shopping for that product on the product page, they click on it, they watch my video, they purchase, I get a commission off of that. And because I'm helping in the buying process of the customer, of Amazon's customer. So that's kind of the second way to monetize that platform. And then the third way, and I'm doing all three of these, by the way, the third way is to work with brands directly. So I work with all kinds of different brands, probably over 35 brand agents now. I've a couple hundred products that have been sent to me in the last 30 days. And so I'm creating video about those products and also getting paid by some of those brands as well. So, yeah, man, that's Amazon in a little 2 minute nutshell there, but it's live selling. So just make sure you're paying attention. If you are a live streamer, maybe you're a podcaster, this is a very unique way to monetize, and it is the most profitable in the first 30 days of action I've ever well, it's the most profitable I've ever been off of a platform. So when you're talking about making money directly from a platform, YouTube, Instagram, whatever, like they're writing the checks. this is the most profit I've ever made off one of those. I've been on YouTube for several years. I've made pennies compared to what I make on Amazon, and it is, if you like that kind of stuff, it's not for everybody. But if you like it, then huge opportunity to share your thoughts about crap you use all over your house, so, and in your office and wherever else. So hopefully that helps, Dominic. Sorry to dominate the conversation there for 5 minutes.
No, and I'm sorry, Tom. You care if I dig into this? I need to know more. This is okay. So, Dr. Tachi, I saw you clapping. I don't even know how people do this, but they put up like sometimes my buddy Vaughn will put big eyeballs on his thing. I saw Dr. Tachi had some emoji that came up on her little screen there. So, Dr. Tachi, did you have thoughts on the Amazon? Johnny
Yeah,
just put a smiley face. Sorry, go on, Dr.
yeah.
Tachi.
All you have to do is hold down your picture, Dominic, and then choices will pop up for the little emojis and GIFs or GIFs, however it's actually pronounced. So, just for your own information. But Billy, you're a rock star. So I that is absolutely fantastic. Amazon Live is definitely a great way for additional monetization. I am on Amazon Live, but I need to be better because it's one thing that you can't. There are stipulations. It is a live selling platform, so I can't just like I could add Amazon Live into what I'm doing with MediaScope, but what I do on my other shows is not live selling. So that means I need to do something separate, which is why it's been a little difficult for me. But because now I'm fired up because of Billy, I'm going to be better with this.
Thank you, Dr. Tachi. Go on, Billy.
Well, I was going to say, Dr. Tachi, if you're not doing the short form shoppable videos, I highly recommend doing it. Like, live video is fun. Live video brings brand awareness from brands so they can reach out to you and collaborate. But shoppable videos, in my experience so far, has been where the money's at. And so I've had shoppable videos up for over a year. I spent 10 months in Puerto Rico, so I couldn't get any products shipped to me because it's just too expensive. So I had 30 products in shoppable videos and did not bring in less than like $375 a month off of 30 videos, which, if anybody knows anything about Amazon monetization or YouTube monetization, I've made $800 in 2 years total off of YouTube. So I'm making that in 2 months off of Amazon. And now that I've been home, I've actually increased that. I just uploaded my 110th video. So as you can imagine, the scalability of that is continuing to rise. So if you and they're just going to stay out there and make money. So they're like these little money getters. You put them out there and they just keep generating revenue each video. And there's there's reasons why it does that. I won't get into it. But if you're not doing shoppables, just take an hour a day and create 10 of them, 5 of them, and put them up every day. You'll be
Billy.
surprised. You'll be crazy not to.
Billy, is there somewhere or some way that we can see what you've done and how you're doing it?
Yes, there is. I'm glad you asked. It's just billythorpe.live, and you'll see my Amazon store. And if you click around and you buy something, I'll get commission off of it. Just so you guys know, I'm not that guy. And you got to let people know too. By the way, like, that's the big thing in affiliate marketing is you got to let people know. Like, I let people know in my videos, hey, they sent this to me for me to check out. Whatever. Just keep it all in the up and up, because you don't want to just be blasting links out and trying to get people to click and buy stuff. So yeah, just billythorpe.live is how I do it. Now I'm in studio and I got a multi-camera shot and I got a live switcher. I do everything live to drive. But one of the guys I know that makes $5K a month, 5+K a month on this platform, literally shoots with his phone and with a nice microphone with good audio and hardly ever shows his face. And he has probably put up over 300, close to 400 videos in it. He's been generating that amount of revenue plus for over 12 months. And that's game change. That's life changing. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but 5K for some videos, I'm like, yeah, all right, sign me up. So I'm in the. I just passed 30 days of testing. I'm going 90 to see what it's like, because on Amazon, I'm talking too much. But anyway, on Amazon, you don't have to be niche, and you can it's the Wild West right now. And so I'm testing a bunch of different categories and contemplating, do I hire talent to come into my studio and produce in other categories that I'm not familiar with to continue to grow the business. So anyway, a lot of strategy in my brain. Sorry.
Well, first of all, I'm watching one of your videos right now, and dude needs to eat a cheeseburger. You've lost a ton of weight, man. You look phenomenal.
65 pounds, man. Lost 65 pounds. So thank
It's
you.
awesome.
Appreciate that.
I noticed that too. Good job, Billy. Hey, and the reason I like that, one, you can see Billy's a wealth of knowledge, but the one thing that it's never about the views and stuff with Billy. It's all about the quality. So these are products he believes in, subject matter he believes in, and you'll hear him talk about niching down and things like that. So it's interesting. He's just not talking about some scam or how he's going to get 1 million views or anything like that. It's this defined niche, this product, something like that. So check them out, man. All right. Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, and social media. I'm now on the live stream with Tom. We live stream this thing. Tom set it up. What's the app we use for it? How do we do it, Tom? People always want to know, how do we live stream the app? The
Okay.
Clubhouse room.
So without getting too deep in the weeds, right? We use Restream.io. That's the web-based application that we use to sort of build out and live stream across all these different channels. So that's the that's how we're able to live stream to like both of our YouTube channels simultaneously, both of our Facebook channels simultaneously, Twitter, Twitch, et cetera, LinkedIn. So that's how we do it. That's the app that we use. I am on my computer here, and I use Club Deck, the computer app for Clubhouse, and then I use a screen capture setup so that we can actually see the Clubhouse screen. We can see the room and see the people there. So it's not just disembodied voices. We see your profile picture and all that on the live stream when you guys are talking. Everybody in the live stream can hear you when you're talking, etc. And it's the way we've been doing it. We've been doing it this way for months now. Since all the way back in like February. Was it February or March? I think it was March when we started doing the live stream. So it's been a few months. I think it's been super successful. I'm a fan of doing it. It's only a few months in, but we've gotten positive reviews. We've got a whopping 4 people watching right now on the live stream. But the beauty of the live stream is that
most ever.
right,
Go on.
right. It goes up on YouTube and it stays there. Right. It goes up on LinkedIn and it stays there. It goes up on Twitter. It stays there. It goes up on Facebook. It stays there. Right. So like, yes, it's only live once, but those videos will autoplay. They stay part of your, part of your content, and doing it consistently every week is super important, right? So that consistency is really important. We try to do it every week. Last week, for anybody who was here or listening or listens to the replay, Dominick couldn't be here, so Dr. Tachi jumped in and helped out as a guest host with me last week. She was on the live stream with me, and we made it work. So it all works. It's a little fidgety because none of this stuff is really designed to do what we're doing with it. So like you have to sort of hack and patch and figure out how to make things work together. But that's the kind of problem solving I love. So I'm super excited to do it all the time. And and we even got a comment this morning from Brian over on LinkedIn who was watching, who said, "Great idea getting Clubhouse onto LinkedIn." And I 100% agree. I think it was a good idea to do. It's why we did it, and it's why we're going to continue doing it, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Spot on, brother. And me and Tom are both big believers in repurposing content, reusing content. Each of you have messages you believe in, like Billy has products he believes in. If you have a book, if you have a message, if you have a conversation that you believe in, why not let other people hear it? Why not clip it? You'll see in my social media, I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. I use clips of so much stuff, because why not cut this 20 minutes down to 1 minute? A lot of times somebody doesn't have a whole 20 minutes to watch your show. They don't have 30 minutes, or sometimes the platform they're on doesn't love 20-minute videos. Like maybe Instagram loves Reels right now. TikTok loves 30-second videos. So you can't put your whole book there. You can't put your whole 20-minute YouTube interview, but you can break things down to clips. And even before we started doing the restream, we didn't, Clubhouse for a while, they didn't have clips. They didn't have replays. So back in the day, the rooms, you knew going into a room, sometimes they were closed rooms, so the content couldn't be replayed or anything like that. But Billy could replay his 5 minutes of dropping Amazon tips there, and he could be sharing that to everybody because it was masterful. So Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, and social media. We do this every Wednesday. We appreciate you being here, even if it's 5 minutes, if it's 10 minutes. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand, because I'm not always the best at calling people up. I can drop the ball, like today when I didn't get on the computer for a half hour. So feel free to raise your hand if you have a question. We have a lot of experts here. So we're going to keep moving around, see what kind of tips we can get. Billy, did you want to say something, brother?
Yeah, you guys were talking about live streaming and multi-streaming. So if anybody has a Mac, I use a software called Ecamm Live. Been using it for several years. Actually, I would probably not use it a couple of times and went to something else, but the community is amazing, and that's why I stick with them. But their software is also amazing, so it's really simple to build a show. But it's in beta, so it's not released. But in their pro version, it's in beta right now. But they are introducing multi-streaming to that. So I know that for some people that was a problematic thing because there was no multi-streaming and you had to use another service such as Restream or whatever. But they're testing it right now, so we should see it hopefully in the next few weeks be dropped to public. And yeah, man. So just wanted to make that, I guess, announcement if anybody was interested in Ecamm and that was keeping them from it.
Billy, thanks. Go on, Tom.
I was going to say it's a good tip. Thanks for sharing that, Billy. And just to get slightly more in the weeds, anybody who watches the live stream, I know Dr. Tachi a lot of times will watch the live stream and be on Clubhouse with us to participate in the room. And some other folks do that too. I know Julie has done that in the past as well. One of the things that I've gotten questions about is the way I have it set up. I use OBS, which is free software. It's crowdsourced software. You can download it. Anybody can download it, and there's tons of tutorials on how to use it. So please don't DM me and ask how to use it. Do a Google search, watch some videos on YouTube. There are people who are much more adept at using it than me, who can teach you how to really get the best out of OBS. But I use OBS, and what I have is an image of somebody holding a phone, right? And then I've cut out I've made the phone screen transparent, and then I have the image of the club deck room behind that, so it looks like it's on a phone, right? And so I did that just so people understand that we're using this, that we're on this app Clubhouse and we're live streaming the Clubhouse room online, and it just makes it look a little bit prettier, a little bit nicer, right? So we have this still image of somebody, a hand holding a phone, that we use as an overlay to sort of frame the Clubhouse stream as it comes into Restream. And then specifically about like the multi-streaming, the cool thing with Restream, and they're the only ones that I know of that does this. But the cool thing about them is not only can you stream to multiple platforms simultaneously, and quite a few, I think it's like 6 or 7 or 8 multiple platforms at the same time, but whoever you invite as a guest into your studio on Restream can then also pair their channels on those platforms. And so it's not just streaming to my YouTube or to Dom's YouTube, it's streaming to both of our YouTube channels simultaneously. It's streaming to both of our Facebook channels simultaneously, right? So like, I think it's probably streaming to both of our Twitter channels simultaneously if Dom paired his. So like he can pair all of his channels too. So, and that's what Dr. Tachi did last week. It streamed to her YouTube channel, as well as mine. So that's one of the cooler things that I really like about Restream is that they enable you to pair your guests' channels so you can really up your impact and up the potential viewership and reach that the video stream has down the line. So I just wanted to throw that in too.
No, I love getting into the weeds of things. I think people need to know it. A lot of people will suggest using Club Deck too. If you can use Clubhouse on your computer, Club Deck. I use my phone while we're doing this. I'm looking at Tom on Restream because I don't necessarily I like to see all your little faces and get into your bios real quick. And I don't think when I use Club Deck that I can get into that as fast. So if you ever watch the Restream and I'm staring away, that's because I'm digging into looking at people's bios and reading about, like, I'll try it right here. As we move this on, we're going to meet our friend Maria. Maria is a agented narrative nonfiction author on submission with my debut. Let's see, my debut. Okay, food lover who grew up in an award-winning A-list top 10 Italian restaurant. Maria, I think I've watched some of your videos. Social justice, nonprofit expertise, and mental health advocate and warrior. See, so I'm looking away, learning about Maria, and now I push some buttons on my phone, and I come back to Maria and say, Maria, we're talking tips today. You hear we go all over the place. What kind of tips would you like to share with our eager minds?
Thank you, Dominic, and thank you for that intro too. I appreciate it. I, like you, well, I'm a former Pittsburgher, but I still have a lot of love for my native city, so I love being on stage with other Pittsburghers as well. I just wanted to say that true gem sound bites rarely happen by accident. And I'm going to explain that in a second, but I just want to repeat it again. True gem sound bites rarely happen by accident. So whenever you're going onto a show or onto a stage, you just want to make sure that you practice and then you perfect. Because when you practice and you perfect, then you come off as incredibly professional. And I'll even go a little further. Like whenever I go on to a podcast or I go on to a show, I make sure I do a lot of research on that show, on the host. I think about the questions that they might want to ask me, and I'm ready. And especially now for the virtual formats, if you can set up in a way where you can have your computer next to a window or a wall, you can actually post your sound bites onto the wall. And then that way, if you get lost throughout the show, then you're able to pick right back up where you left off. So that is my tip for today. Thank you.
I love it, and I love this idea of practicing this content, reusing, repurposing, practicing. You'll get better. You'll take out the ums. You'll take out the rights. You'll understand what doesn't hit with the audience. You'll understand what audience doesn't like certain things you say. You'll learn. I went longer during that story. I talked too fast. I talked too slow. Maybe I need to talk faster for effect. Re-listen back to all those things. One day I was describing a loaf of Italian bread, and I was like, it's fluffy, it's white, it's this. And my wife was like, why did you explain? People know what a loaf of bread is. They get it. And it was a miss, right? You miss up sometimes. I was probably thinking as a writer how to describe this, and I missed it. But that practice. Another time, Tom, I had a public relations guy that early on in my career, I got hooked up with this public relations guy, and I thought maybe I needed a PR manager to help me get events I didn't even know what it was. I just thought maybe this is my next step. And he said, "You're not ready." And he was pretty quick with me, but you're not ready. But what he told me, Maria, was I needed to practice. He said, "What are you going to do when you get on X show and they ask you this or they ask you that? When they ask you about politics, when they ask you on your view on this or that, you need to be ready. You need to be prepared. You need to know that you don't freeze in your biggest opportunities." Maria, I couldn't agree more, and I'm glad you shared that tip. How do you practice the message, Maria?
Well, I can give you an example, and I'm, a big believer in Clubhouse and the power of Clubhouse. And just recently, I was on a national syndicated show as a result of somebody that I had met on Clubhouse. And preparing for that show was pretty much something that I've feel like I've trained up to do. And really, it was studying the former shows, some of the guests that she had had on before. Like I said, the questions that she was asking people and the topics that she was really interested in. I knew that she was going to ask questions about Web 3.0 and the future of food. And I was ready for those answers, even though this wouldn't be something that I would normally talk about on a podcast. I just knew it was going to go there. So just being informed, not being caught off guard or taken by surprise, and just knowing what you're in for. And I think whenever you do that and you spend a lot of time preparing, then it's actually fun. And you don't have to worry so much, and it just comes out much more naturally. At least that's been my experience. Thank you so much, Dominic.
I want to tack on one addendum to this conversation, if I could, from what you were saying just before you asked Maria that, and what she was just saying now. Practice is good, right? We all agree practice is good. Practice makes improvement, as we like to say, right? It doesn't make perfect, it makes improvement, right? So the more you do something, the better you get at it, right? Practice makes improvement. But there is a caveat to throw onto that. It's good to have prepared responses or an idea of what you're going to say, right? Or how you're going to respond to a particular question. Do not script yourself. Do not be rigid with those responses. Those responses should be bullet pointed, and if you're going to write them down, I would encourage you to write them down intentionally in incomplete sentences, right? Bullet points in incomplete sentences, because you won't be able to adhere to a strict script if you don't write it in the first place, right? So you should have an idea of what your response should be, right? You should know the thought that you're going to convey in that response, but you should not script yourself, because trust me, the vast majority of people are not good with a script, and it sounds scripted. It sounds stiff. It sounds robotic. It doesn't sound like you mean what you're saying, right? Like right now, I sound like I mean what I'm saying, because I believe in what I'm saying, and because this is 100% unscripted. If I had scripted this and I was reading it off a prompter right now, it would not sound like I really, truly believed it. And it would not convey that emotion to everybody listening to me talk. So don't hard script yourself. Adhere to ideas, practice your responses to things, but do not script yourself. That's all. I just wanted to throw that in. Thanks.
Tom, I think that's a real important one. I did some filming with Netflix and Amazon, and one of the things that Amazon does on every shoot they're shooting is they'll read the line. So they film it 20 times reading the line. It's annoying. One 30-second clip, they're filming 30 times, 20 different ways. It takes forever. But then they'll say, okay, do it like it's 1950. And the actors say it a different way. Then they'll say, do it in your own words. do it like you're mad at them. Do it like you're angry. Same line. And they go to like what Tom's saying. They have the line. Say it, just read it say it how you'd want to say it. And they go through all these things and it takes a whole day to shoot 2 minutes, but they get the best when they go. It seems to me the best is when they go, they know the line, but they go off script, and it's really natural at that point. And you can see that's what they end up using most of the time. So me and my counterpart at my show Bikes and Hikes, we have stolen that, and we'll have an idea of a question or something when we're going around, and then we'll be like, in your own words, and then it will go completely off, and it'll be the funnest and most authentic, and it usually plays better. So I'm loving these tips. I appreciate you guys. Okay, what do you got, Tom? Go on.
I was just going to say, Dr. Tachi on YouTube just commented that that it's one of the reasons this scripting thing and the fact that people don't do well with scripts is one of the reasons that she doesn't like teleprompters. And I just wanted to mention something there. So I have clients all the time suggest using a teleprompter and scripting out a video that we're going to film for them. And I always raise a red flag when they bring that up, always. And here's the analogy, because we know how I feel about analogies. Here's the analogy that I use to help them understand why that's a bad idea. Because ultimately what you're doing when you use a teleprompter is you're reading out loud. That's what a teleprompter is, right? That's what your news anchor does every night if you watch the news, if you watch the evening news, as they're giving you the news of the day, they're reading off of a teleprompter. Okay. And so what I always say to people is think back to when you were in middle school, right? And the teacher, you'd be in English class, say, and reading a book. Everybody's reading the same book, right? And you would go around the room, the teacher would go around the room and call on everybody and have each person read a paragraph out of the book out loud in class. Does everybody remember? Flash if you remember having to do that in middle school, right? Okay. So now I want you to think back to that situation, remember that, and try to remember how many people in that class, every time you had to do that, how many of them were actually good at reading out loud, including the teacher. How many of them? Maybe one, maybe one or two at best, right? The vast majority of people sound like bored robots when they read out loud. And if you want to sound like a bored robot, great. In the unlikely event that you have incredible skill with reading from a teleprompter, fantastic. Otherwise, no teleprompters. Don't script yourself. You end up sounding like a bored robot. That's all.
We want no bored robots here. Okay, we got Dr. Tachi, thumbs up. Dr. Tachi, anything you wanted to add to the bored robot conversation?
Tom knows that I will co-sign with him into a volcano, 100%. I too have clients who, in fact, there was one client really quickly who I've been working with for a while, and one of the people on his team used to work for Telemundo, and so he come from the world of teleprompter. So as we were doing these videos, he's like, I think we should use a teleprompter to, and you can tell the vast differences between when he speaks what he's internalized using notes, which is completely okay. I think people have gotten so used to the fact that things are scripted and teleprompted, and people are always looking directly into the camera, that they think it's not okay to look down at your notes. 100% it is. Before teleprompters, that's what news people did. They looked at notes. So it's okay to look down at notes to keep you on track in your place, because you're just glancing down for a second and using that to spark your line of conversation as opposed to reading. And if words are in front of you, the tendency is to read, which, like Tom, which is why I don't like teleprompters. Again, most people are not skilled at doing it. I'd rather have you speak from your heart and stumble than to sound like a bored robot.
Thanks, Dr. Tachi. Appreciate that. And I'll co-sign into a volcano with you as well. That's a two-way street, my friend. I appreciate that. Appreciate it. Let's just we're going to do a quick reset. Dom just stepped away for a second, so we'll do a quick reset. This is Clubhouse Publishing, Podcasting, and Social Media. I always say that in the wrong order. Clubhouse Podcasting, Publishing, and Social Media. We do this room every Wednesday. Usually start at 9:30 Eastern time, and we'll usually go to 11 or 11:30, depending on how many folks we got in the room and how lively the conversation is, and how often I usurp the mic and talk for way too long. So in order to avoid doing that, I'm going to jump right to our friend Randy, who's with us again this week. Randy, we're dropping tips, sharing knowledge. We got onto a subject of how to convey messaging to people, and presenting and using notes and being authentic. And actually, the conversation all started with a conversation between Dom and his friend Jim before I got into the room, talking about how they relax. So whatever's on your mind, the floor is yours, my friend. Share a tip, drop some knowledge, ask a question. Take it away.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak. I'm multitasking. I'm definitely enjoying being engaged in the conversation. I've attended several conversations with you guys. I apologize if it sounds like I'm speaking with a lisp. I'm trying to get comfortable with my new Invisalign, so that's it's a new hurdle that I'm challenged with when it comes to public speaking. But I guess just to piggyback off what you guys are talking about, I run a podcast. I've been doing it for some time now, and to not be too long-winded with words, and also when I'm having conversations, to try to make sure that my conversation is meaningful. I definitely want to come across authentic. I put a lot of time into just trying to absorb and learn as much information about my guest and the topic that I possibly can, so that when I'm speaking with them, that they feel like this is a meaningful conversation that will have an impact, and uh, our audience collectively together will find some type of compatibility with it. Otherwise, if it's not doing that, it's just not. It's just, to me, it's just not a good use of time for creating content. I want to create content that will last, that people will check out and maybe want to go back to in the future to look at, because something comes to their mind, then they may want to go YouTube search or just research on whatever the topic of interest is. So, I'm really passionate about having meaningful conversations. I have a background in behavioral health, mental health particularly. And so, soft skills matter to me. Affect matters to me. Uh, Having strong interpersonal skills matter to me. Being able to identify and connect with things that my guests and my audience enjoy and like matter to me, even when that may not be the primary focal point of the conversation. But if I'm talking to someone and I just happen to know that they're from North Carolina, and I can connect something with them about the Tar Heel State that will register with them and will ring a bell in them to say, hey, this guy, this guy obviously was curious enough to do a little research around me, or to recognize that I like the Tar Heels, or to recognize that I'm from, this state. Well, that matters, because that will contribute to only add more layers to the conversation as it continues to evolve. So really don't have a lot to say. I'm just really here to absorb and listen, and get in where I fit in. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to come to the floor, and I'll park my bike right there.
Thanks for being here, Randy. Really appreciate that. And I want to chime in on I'm so glad that you brought up soft skills. I just want to chime in on this. I want to hit this like over the head with a bat real fast. And what I want to say is soft skills are crucial for success in business. And the reason they're crucial is because happy people are productive people. Period. End of story. There's nothing else you need to know about that. It's true professionally. It's true personally. It's true across the board. If people are happy, they are productive. Period. That's it. So soft skills are crucial to success in business, because if you keep your team happy at work, they will be vastly more productive for you and your business than they would be otherwise. So focus on, like, your job as a leader in business, right? As somebody that owns a company, that manages teams. When I look to what my job is, right, in leadership, running a team for my business, my job is to enable the people working on my team to do their best work, right? It's not to micromanage them. It's not to tell them how to do every little minute detail. It's to enable them to do their best work. If I've hired well, then they should know what to do and how to do it, right? So my job is to just pave the way, make sure the road and the path is smooth for them, and then let them go down it, right? So yeah, soft skills are crucial to success, because happy people are productive people. Period. Just had to jump in there.
Tom, you had me thinking about a million things, but you said it so well. So I have zero to add on the way you perfectly, masterfully handled that. Well done. Let's meet cannabis mom, cannabis podcaster, cannabis everything. It looks as I read the bio here. Let's see. I'm going to read it. Go on here. Read the bio. Okay, let's see how my reading is. I always thought I read louder, and that was my tip to, if you're in a room and you did have to read, I thought louder, just go for it. So, an award-winning cannabis podcaster and international #1 best-selling author who is talking about caring for and giving voice to women in emerging cannabis industry. Okay, we're going to meet Joyce. Joyce, you're doing a lot there. Give us a tip or ask a question. Go on, my friend.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So first, Tom, as a woman who used to be a family law divorce attorney and now works in cannabis and works with lots of happy people as opposed to working with many unhappy people, I completely agree with you. And as a woman whose soft skills were always told they were a detriment to her professional life as a divorce attorney, because nobody is nice in divorce law, I like that now I can be vulnerable and happy in this world of cannabis. So yeah, I'm a cannabis podcaster out here in Massachusetts. And I think it's interesting what you said about script. I am not a media person by any training. I just kind of fell into this, and I do script my intro and I do a lot of reading out loud before I actually do it on air to make it sound natural. But yeah, it's interesting to hear from professionals who do this as a living. And I don't know what my tip is exactly. I was just really thrilled about hearing you talk about the power of vulnerability and happy people, because that is my world in cannabis. And I talk about the women leaders I'm talking to and meeting who are using cannabis for health and wellness. They are healed, they are evangelized. And how powerful is that, to have an entire industry that could be run by healed, happy people, right? So that's my little contribution to the cannabis world. And I am Joyce, and I'm complete.
Joyce, thanks. And I think I want to quiz Tom on something that you brought up. Is there a difference, Tom, and there clearly is, I think you were referring to a question during an interview being scripted versus Mike Rowe reading the beginning of Deadliest Catch? Or are you saying no, axe the script altogether? Or sometimes, go on.
So here's the thing. When Mike Rowe does the intro for Deadliest Catch, right? And when he reads the voiceover, Mike Rowe earns a living reading scripts. That's what he does. Okay? So he's real good at it. The vast majority of people are leaps and bounds worse at reading a script than Mike Rowe is. Okay? Because they don't do it all day, every day as a profession. They don't have the level of practice and expertise that he has. Okay? So, am I saying get rid of scripts altogether, all the time, every time? No. I'm saying don't script your answers for an interview, right? You should prepare for an interview and have bullet points to go from, like when we were talking earlier with Maria. But don't script your answers. Don't write your answers out in full sentences, right? And then the other side of that is to what Joyce was just talking about an intro. The tip that I would give people who are using a scripted introduction to a podcast, for example, right? Or a video series that they're doing. Write a script. That's totally fine. Practice the script. Practice it till you are sick and tired of hearing yourself say it, right? Practice it until when you close your eyes, you can see the words, right? Practice it till it drives you insane. And then when you record it, don't read from the script. You won't need it. And if you change a word or two, that's okay, right? Because what you're doing is you will automatically adapt the script so it fits your voice and your normal speaking intonation. And if you change a word because that's not the way you would normally say something, it's okay. Don't be too rigid, right? What I'm trying to do is to get people to stop being rigid with scripting. And that's the temptation when you have something scripted, is to look at it and say, I have to say this exactly right. I have to say it exactly how it's written. And the answer is no, you don't. It happens all the time professionally, in fiction, in nonfiction production. When something is scripted, all the time people change words on the fly, right, Dom? Like you were talking about with filming lines, and they would run lines 20, 30 times, a whole bunch of takes, and then they would run one more time and say it however you want to say it, and the actor would say it how it felt best to them, right? And usually that was the keeper, right? But it was because they were eventually getting comfortable with the script and getting comfortable with the lines and feeling into them. And that's what you need to do with your scripting as well. If you're scripting an intro to a podcast or something like that. So rehearse it, do it 100 times over and over and over again. Film yourself doing it and listen to it, right? Watch it back. But then when it comes time to do it for real, throw the script away. You don't need it anymore. You know the words, say them how it feels right. That's all.
Joyce, what do you think about that for a challenge? That you got that script, now you have to memorize till you can see the words. What are you going to do?
Oh, I do that. I do that already. Even when I was learning my pitch and all the other things, I talk to myself all the time. And I used to litigate, so I'm very good at talking to myself a lot until it feels natural. Once you can fake authenticity. So I get that, Tom. Yeah, I understand that part. I don't do it with my intros, but maybe I should try it. We'll see how that goes. Thank you for that tip.
Hey, we're learning all kinds of stuff. A couple weeks ago, we decided let's just try to have as many tips as we can. Who knows? Like we talked about Amazon, we're talking about scripts, we're talking about branding tips. We have so many experts that are willing to come by and share their knowledge rather than getting in the weeds on politics or current events or whatever it is. Let's talk tips. Let's leave this room a better businessman, a better speaker, a better storyteller. And I've been buzzing since, man. And I so I'm thankful for each of you. Okay, we're gonna meet Dean. I don't think I've ever met Dean before. I saw this bio and I needed to know more just because it said, "Tell me your potato theory." I need to know, man. The tagline got me. So, Dean, we want a tip, but you got to tell me about this potato theory.
Okay, real quick. Tip would be I'm older than majority of y'all in this room, talking about scripts and pitches. Back in the old days, I was in a room with 200 other people reading from a script, smiling and dialing for dollars, whatever you want to do. And as we're coaching these people, we make them say it word for word. If they did not, we hung up the phone. Do it again. We hung up the phone. Do it again. And the reason for that was we had to get them into a mindset of the 5 closing steps. Okay, you do that long enough, you figure out what you have a mind shift, and you figure out that it's all about closing the deal. And I was selling paper clips, guys. So they made me sell paper clips for 6 months before they hired me on permanently. And I sold a lot of damn paper clips. My intro was, "Hi, this is Dynamo Dean, the Paperclip King. How the hell are you?" And that was a long time ago. The potato chip, the potato theory is this. In 1969, I was 9 years old, and I spent the night over a friend's house, and his mom served dinner. And as she was serving dinner, she had, like, I don't know, hamburger, string beans, peas, cream corn, something like that, but no potatoes. Now I'm 9 years old. I got four brothers and my mom and dad. And this is my first night away. Okay, I've always slept in my own bed at my house, but this is the first time I had a sleepover, and that was the first time I had ever had a meal where we didn't eat potatoes. Now I know that probably sounds weird to y'all, but the light bulb went off, and that was the day I figured out if you do not know something, you just don't know it. And it was kind of an epiphany that, it's a potato theory, and I've used that off my whole life. If you just don't know something, it's okay. Don't feel guilty that you didn't know. Don't feel embarrassed. Some people just don't know. Um, Again, I'm from the old way, and I had something happen to me 5 years ago, and I'm trying to get back into the workforce. And when it comes to audio, smiling and dialing and selling, I'd venture to say there's not very many people better than me. And I know that sounds cocky, arrogant, whatever it is, but I can back it up. And I enjoyed so far what I've listened to, and I'm just glad y'all put me in the room. I'm trying to figure out, uh, today, as I grew up in Texas, and then I moved out to California in the '80s. Back then the technology is moving so fast. The big accomplishment back in 1985 was when IBM came out with the XT computer. They had an AT, and then it came to an XT. That was the big deal. This is 1985. That went from 8 megahertz to 10 megahertz. Now, look what technology has done in the last 5 years. We live in a virtual world where your telephone is your storytelling mechanism. You carry it with you. You can contact anybody with it. So if you're taking videos, taking content, save it. You can repurpose it later. And I believe that's what y'all are talking about. But anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. I appreciate you letting me share, and thank you very much.
Dean, man, I'm glad you're here. And right now, I'm going to say I got respect for any dude that could sell paper clips and make a living. That sounds hard as hell. I used to sell yellow page ads, and that's like my, that hard story of I went door to door selling yellow pages. Paper clips, much respect. Beat that, somebody. I'll open it up if right now, if you've sold anything that can beat a paperclip, you flash your mic. I want to hear it. Who do we got? And we'll vote on this. So, see, Dean, you win. Thanks for being here. Okay, we're resetting Clubhouse, podcast, publishing, and social media. We are on to Andrea. Andrea, ask a question or drop a tip. What do you got for us?
Yeah, well, two things. One, I just love what Dean had to say. I think the potato theory is brilliant, and it reminds me of there's some famous quote out there about how the older I get, the more I realize that I don't know anything, which is so true. And so that's one thing. I love listening to him, and I totally believe he can sell, no doubt about it. Also, I just want to comment about Joyce, and I think she's a great example for everybody in this room who is publishing and on social media and Clubhouse. I think her niche is absolutely brilliant. It's so drilled down, it's so specific. If you read her bio. It's just very clear the problem that she solves, what she does. And I think that having the courage to niche down is really important when you're trying to brand yourself in today's world where just there's so many people that use all kinds of, I think, amorphous terms like coach and speaker and all of these things, and we don't really understand exactly what they do. We really understand the problem that she solves, the people that she helps. So I just wanted to add that in. And that's it. Done speaking. Thanks.
Andrea, thank you very much. And one back to you, just because it's our first time meeting. Do you want to give us a quick bio about yourself?
Oh, sure. I'm the co-author of, I'm most known for being, I guess you'd call me the Go for No woman. I'm the co-author of a book called Go for No. I've been teaching people how to reprogram the way they think about failure, rejection, and the word no now for about 20 years. I speak to organizations, primarily keynote speaking, teaching people how to reframe how they think and feel about rejection to be more successful. And also in doing that, in learning to self-publish, I actually started before Amazon. I also now help people publish books as well.
Well, we are glad to have you here. I feel like maybe my friend Christopher Worth had you on his podcast one time. Are you familiar with him?
I was on his podcast. Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
see,
absolutely.
okay. Small
I
world.
go on a lot of podcasts.
Tom's known Chris since kindergarten.
Oh, very cool.
It's a small world. Thank
True
go on,
story.
Tom.
True
Yeah,
story.
true story.
Yeah, we've known each other for too long. Maybe.
Love it.
Small. Thank you, Andrea, for being here. Okay, we are going to meet Raj and Charles 222. Charles, I wonder what 222 means. That can't be the area code out there, is it? But first, we got Raj. Raj is hanging out, and he got that nice tank top on, showing some tats. I don't look good with a tank top on. I'm like a pear or something. As soon as I put one on, I look odd, but Raj seems like he's pulling it off here. So Raj, give us a tip, whether it's how to rock a tank top or a business tip or marketing tip. What do you got?
Dominic, thank you so much. I love your enthusiasm there. It's absolutely great. I've always worn tank tops, to be fair, and it's been one of those things like since I've been the age of 18. I'm giving my age away now, but yeah, I've always loved tank tops. In terms of tips, I would say my tip would be basically, if it's going to be social media, just have a look at your content. Actually, it's with any platform, whether it's podcasting or whether it's publishing or even if it's Clubhouse, right? I think you got to look at who your audience is and look at what kind of resonates with them and what kind of value you could provide. I think there are a lot of businesses out there in today's market that start and then they get stuck, they hit like a brick wall and they don't know where to go further from there. So what happens is they have like a social media, they've got the following, but then they don't know how to convert those followers and they don't know how to provide that value to those followers. So my pro tip would be to basically really narrow it down, just go back to the basics and look at your core audience. I mean, try to identify who your avatar is. And then once you've identified that, you can then start creating content for that audience. Because if you're creating something that is not resonating, you're going to find that your social media is going to be quite stagnant and your business won't be moving forward. And I think that another pro tip is don't put all your eggs into the social media basket, as I like to say, because what happens there is that, as we all know, social media profiles or accounts have tendencies to have outages. Now, if you look at platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp last year, they had an outage, not only last year, but they've had outages, quite a few of those as well. And not only them, but other social platforms have as well. So what I would say is the best thing you could do is have a quality website. And I think on that website, what you need to do is have a really awesome and a good lead in there. So you can have like an opt-in strategy, maybe having like giving away something for free in order to capture emails. And with that, then you can have a strategy where you could do like an email marketing campaign, not spamming your subscribers, but what you can actually do is offer them value of like what you are actually doing as a business, you know. And also, it's good to actually stay in touch and communicate with them, because if something like social media does go down, at least you've got another form of communication other than social media. And I think we all need to understand that social media is a tool to leverage for brand visibility. And I think at times it can be misled that social media can guarantee your business because you've got so many followers. It's not always the case. And we've got to look at that. The vanity numbers don't always count. I know a lot of businesses that have got a lot less followers, but they're making a lot of money behind the scenes, you know. So I think we've got to always look at businesses at face value and see what they have to offer, see what value they're giving, and then also build relationships. I think some people are just quick to sell. And the reason why I say that is because yesterday I had someone in my inbox who was just constantly selling at me. And I said, listen, you are being very pushy. You're not building a relationship with me. You're becoming very salesy. And I would like you to just back off a little bit and respect my decision. And I say no. And this guy happened to be an award-winning PR guy, so with a blue check mark. So that for me doesn't actually represent what he's showing to be perceived as, you see. So for me, I look at people that actually build relationships with, and then also respect each other. I think respect goes a long way, you know, and I think that there needs to be that relationship building, build trust. And if someone wants to work with you, then of course they will say, look, Raj, I want to work with you. I like what you do. How can you help my business, you know? And my current client is a prime example of that. You can check out my website. He's put a testimonial up on there. He's actually put a review up on my Google My Business. So there are many things that I think as business owners that we can do to actually improve our companies, and we can improve our visibility online and offline. Over to you, Dominic. Thank you so much.
Raj, man, thank you. One thing that you hit on you hit on a lot of great points, but one thing that stood out to me was identifying that core, your target market. And I want to know from you, as somebody who put it as one of their pillars, what tip or tips would you give to the room on how do we know who that is? How do I know that I'm not just trying to throw mud on the wall and get it to all to stick? How do I know that I'm reaching out to a target market?
Okay, so basically, the first thing you've got to do is look at what you're providing as a business, right? So I'll give you a prime example. I'll give my agency as an example. So my agency launched in 2014, and the whole reason was to provide a solution to independent artists, because I felt that independent artists weren't getting promoted correctly in the music industry, whether it was Eastern or Western music industries, right? And what I felt that record labels and especially PR agencies weren't doing their due diligence, and they weren't actually promoting artists correctly. So I wanted to provide a solution where that when they came to me, they had a unique selling point that I'm an artist myself. I'm an independent, I'm a producer, I'm a DJ, and I'm a musician. So I knew that how to promote a track, because I released my first single in 2004, and I released another one in 2009 and another one in 2012. So I had some experience on what actually it takes to actually release a track. So I had a solution where I can offer a platform for artists to actually have direct access to the media, you know, radio, TV, the publications, and not only that, but also have access to different record labels, and then have online visibility as well with social media. So what we did was we then launched exclusive PR in 2014, and then that evolved into helping businesses, because there was another niche there where I found that especially with new startups, they couldn't identify who the target market is, because although they had a business, they didn't know what they had to offer as a solution. So I think that the first thing you should do as a business is that look at the solution and look at what problems people are facing with that product that you're actually selling. Now, in my case, I know that a lot of people do struggle with visibility. So we offer various different solutions for that. You can have visibility by PR, you can have visibility by social media, you can have visibility by having a great website and doing SEO with it. You know, and you can offline visibility, which is like having merchandising. You see, so there's so many different solutions there where you can see and you can help businesses. And once you get that, then you can start targeting that particular avatar. And then you would basically do something which is known as split testing. And split testing is where you would put just a little bit of money behind, let's say, a social media ad, put an ad out and see what kind of response you get back off that. You see, and then you would see which target audience is actually clicking on that ad, why they're clicking on that ad, and what have they got from that ad, you see, and then you would be able to identify whether that is your core audience or whether that audience isn't for you. And one other thing that I do for my business is that I actually have a funnel that I send them through. So I send them through this journey where if you look at my social media accounts anywhere, if you look at my website, I don't have no contact numbers because this is no disrespect to anybody or disrespect to any business owner, but I get a lot of time wasters. So for me, time is money. And the way I look at it is that I have a lot of value to offer and offer free value anyway across my social media accounts. But at the same time, I offer a free 30-minute consultation, which is worth about $600. So what I do is I send people through this funnel journey where they have to complete a form that gives me data. That data then helps me identify whether this client is ideal for my business or not. And then that makes me understand in what areas of the business they are struggling and whether I can help them or not. If I can, I will ultimately say I can help you, let's jump on a call. If I ultimately think I can't, then I would just send an email back saying, unfortunately, we're not the best fit. We can't help you at this time. However, you can try this person or this business. You see, so I think that's a really good way to actually get data as well. And you can always do like a live Q&A. You can always do like stuff on social media, especially on Instagram, like polls and stuff like that. And that can help you do like a lot of market research, if that helps. Back to you, Dominic.
I'm going to jump in here for a second. Thanks, Raj. Really appreciate it. Tons of really specific and useful information in there. I just wanted to hit on a couple of sort of broad points that you brought up. And those are providing value, right? And figuring out who your audience is, right? So this is something that I think a lot of businesses struggle with. And I think it's actually easier than a lot of people think it is, right? Every business is founded with the idea of providing a solution to a specific problem, right? And if your business is not providing a solution to a problem, then you shouldn't be in business, right? Because that's what businesses are there to do. So every business is started with the idea of providing a solution to a specific problem. In order to figure out who your ideal audience is, you just have to look at who that problem affects, right? Who are the people that problem affects? There's your audience. Okay. So actually not like a lot of people look at it like, and think of it like it's rocket science. It's really not. It's pretty straightforward. Now, there's a lot of ways to get into the data and dig into that and get really specific and niche down on things. But ultimately, who does the problem that your product or service solves affect? There's your audience. And then the other thing too, that I'm a huge proponent of, Dominick knows this, everybody who comes into this room regularly knows this, Raj, we're just meeting for the first time, I think now. But I am a huge proponent of leading with value. I 100% believe that as a business, as an expert in my space, I should always be leading with value. I should give way more than I receive, right? I'm 100% a believer in that. It's something that I espouse. I say it out loud all the time. I do my best to adhere to it, both personally and professionally. I always try to give more than I receive, right? And so I think it's incredibly important. A lot of businesses put a lot of things behind paywalls that shouldn't be behind paywalls. They put a lot of things, they gatekeep a lot of content, gatekeep a lot of information to try to generate email lists and things like that. And I'm not a big proponent of that. I think ultimately you should give away any information you have that is generally available, right? Any information you have as an expert in your space that somebody could find online, you should give it away for free, and you should do it all day, every day, right? The place where you get to charge money for your expertise is when that expertise is contextually applied to a particular problem for a particular client, right? That's where you get to charge for that expertise. But when you're talking about generalizable information, I'll hop on a call with anybody who has questions about how to perform better on video, how to create better content on video, how to build scripts, how to build programming, how to script shows, how to do all of any of those things that I've done over the course of my career. I'll give that away all day, every day, right? Happy to do it. Because I 100% believe that value that I'm putting out into the world, that I'm giving away, will return to me. And if I give more than I need to receive, then I'm going to come out on top every time. So that's the way I choose to do things. Yeah, appreciate you being here, Raj, and appreciate you sharing your expertise with everyone. I will throw it back to you, Dom. Keep it moving for me, my friend.
All right, love it, man, and I love this give. Why not? I had a author I was working with the other day, and he's a giver. Some people are takers, and I'm like, hey, man, it's okay every once in a while to make the ask, but it doesn't have to be. It shouldn't be all the time. But give, and this guy's giving. He's making a difference out in the world. It's okay every once in a while to say, tell people what you do. Let the world know what you do so that they can, if they want to help with their storytelling, or they want help with video, or they want help with the music industry. Raj is the person. Dr. Tachi's the person. So make sure you don't miss. Everybody should. I used to sell. I've had a lot of jobs. One of them, I sold insurance. Did a 9-year bid in insurance. I call it. But what we sold commercial, health, life, all that stuff. And life insurance was a subject that people never wanted to talk about. The salespeople, you sometimes felt dirty talking about it, where you're like, oh, how do I approach people? The best guy that ever taught me how to sell, and I actually learned from him and did pretty well at it. But he told me, you have to let people know what you do. Then once you let them know what you do, you can move on. But it is your duty as well to let them know. So at some point, I'd give them a few golf balls or whatever. And I'd say, listen, just so you know, I do this. If you ever need it, I am here for you. I will never bug you again about it. You're never going to hear from me about this again. But I want to let you know I also do it. So same with the media. Like for me, I'm Dominick Domasky. I am a publisher of books. I help people tell their story. We take them from piece of paper or concept in their head to published author. They're on Amazon. They're doing speeches, whatever. That's the root. But you never hear me talking about that because it's give, support. And then someday, maybe at the right time, if they want to talk about that, we'll talk about those kind of things. But it is give, loving the conversation. Charles, 222. What do you got, man? You hear it? Give us a tip, man. So we got Charles and Nola. Nola, that's what I see. But Charles, 222. Charles, the 222 was clever, so I read the bio. Keep up the good work. But what do you got? Give us a tip, Charles.
Well, thank you. First time in the room, I joined the club, and just a brief history of what I'm trying to do, tying my whatever I gained in the first 52 years in 2005, and then said I'm going to have to make myself known to get a simple message across. And since 2005, social media has obviously matured very well. So what I've done is said, okay, I've got a project that impacts everyone on the planet, and I have a responsibility to get that message out. It started with the University of Akron with a rapidly deployable shelter that could be built for sustainable settlements. Very affordably was the concept, and the university said, what you're saying is feasible, which was quite elaborate, but it may take 25 years to do. That was 2005. So they were telling me something that I had an idea that could transform the way humanity is housed, affecting hundreds of millions, billions of people. And that was a huge thing. I'm thinking, okay. But I quickly realized it didn't matter how many, how fast, how affordable the structures were. We needed to build an individual and a collective understanding of all the existential threats we face to protect ourselves, our economy, and each other. So I ended up with the formula after many years uh, of retirement. I say retirement, trying to build this story, which took me to the Occupy movement, Washington, D.C., took me to Berkeley with a couple of months in homeless, empathetically with a few houses and plenty of money in the bank. But I took a deep dive. So I've documented a lot of that with video footage and photographs you can see from my Instagram and the social media as it's been built. But now I'll be on Creative World Television next month. That's the first time I'll have actually a professional production making footage other than what's been creatively uh, made or documented on my social media. So now I'm saying, okay, how can I capitalize on this it's kind of telling my story. So my story is very, very interesting. But the project that I've undertaken can address cholera, dysentery, typhoid, and diarrhea for 1 billion people using on-the-shelf products just distributed to the clinics and schools that need them for about $1 per person for a product that lasts 10 years. So optimum, that's 10 cents per person per year to address cholera, dysentery, and typhoid. So I'm Charles 222, and the 2s stand for 2 gallons of clean water per person per day, 2,000 nutritional calories, and 200 cubic feet of secure shelter as Maslow's needs and basic human rights. So anybody that can help me figure out a way to spread that message and have it monitored, evaluated by people that are able to fund it and look at it and see the benefit, I'm all ears. If I had a avatar, I'd change it to a big old ear. Now I'll see if I can find one. This is Charles 222. Thank you.
Charles, I have a couple of very, very quick, specific questions for you. And they are, do you operate this program under a 501c3? And if so, do you have corporate sponsorship for that 501c3?
I registered as a nonprofit in 2018, obtained the sponsorship of the 501c3, the Institute for Education, Research, and Scholarships. As soon as possible, I would like to get a board. So far, I've bootstrapped the operation just to make sure I knew what was where. And no, we don't have a corporate sponsor. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So I was just going to say, like, if you guys have a website or something, I'm gonna drop in your, I'm gonna throw you a back channel message so we can exchange emails. But I'd love to keep talking to you. I like what you're doing, and I've got some ideas of ways to help kind of spread the message. But some of it depends on a conversation we don't really need to get into here. So check your back channel. I'll throw you my email, and let's take the conversation offline. So thanks for being here, Charles. I really appreciate it. And next up, we've got, I'm going to say Nuala. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. I don't know who's right. We'll let Nuala tell us. But welcome to the room, Nuala. Drop a tip, ask a question, share some knowledge. The floor is yours, my friend.
Are we not going to find out the correct?
We're
not going to find out the correct pronunciation. Well, then we got to invite her back next week, right? And we got to invite. That's our cliffhanger of the day. Is it Nuala? I was glad that Tom had to go to that rather than me, because I apologize in advance. I apologize in advance for butchering people's names next week, and I apologize for anybody whose name I butchered in the last year that we've been doing these rooms. You see those things, and from Fly TY, it was Fly Ty, he's our dear friend, he stops by. I've done a lot of butchering. So Tom, that's all I got for today. I think it's been a great room, a lot of great tips. I'm happy to hang out with each of you, and so thankful when people come by here and are willing to share tips that definitely, they would impact you if you don't use them. They will impact you if you leave this room and implement some of the things you've heard today. So that's what I got, Tom. What do you want to part with?
I just, as always, want to thank everybody for being here. Thank everybody who comes week after week, especially Dr. Tachi, who's always here supporting. Love that and appreciate that. Thanks to all the folks that have come back and spent time with us over the last, it has been about a year that we've been doing this, hasn't it? The folks that have come in over the last year, spent time, we appreciate you tremendously, and would love for you guys to continue being here. Join the club, share the space. If you get value out of it, other people will get value out of it. And I will park my bus there and give my friend Dr. Tachi a couple of seconds to
Yeah, the pressure's on you, Dr. Tachi. Tom pointed it out. You are so supportive. You offer so many tips. The pressure is on you to close us out because I like to ride coattails. So we are going to go to Dr. Tachi, and she's going to take us home today. What do you got, Dr. Tachi?
Yay! It all falls on me. Wonderful. Well, as usual, thank you for holding this space for us. Thank you for being so genuine in wanting to hear what we have to say and sharing knowledge. This is a space like no other, I think. So thank you for having this. I'll end with how I've said this a million times, but I think sometimes we forget. Start where you are, but just start. You don't have to have the best of everything initially, but just start where you are and then take the time, respect your audience enough to get better with what you do. So I will park there, as Tom has said.
I knew she would know it, Tom. Are we out of here?
Love it. Love it. I had nothing else to add, nothing to say to beat that. Let's close it out for the week, my friend.
All right. We'll see y'all later. 3, 2, 1, and we're out of here.